Sunday is done. Week 2 is in the books. Let's take a look at the action. Let's cover what we need to cover. We'll do an update on industry pickup and Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and D'Lo's just out the back there getting up some shots. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. I hit the double bang and the thumb and the comments and all of that stuff. Only 3 games on Sunday as we get ready for an insane 15-game day tomorrow. So we'll talk about all of that. We'll get you caught up on some of the news around the NBA as well. We might as well just get straight into talking about some of that news now, because there's a few interesting things that just developed in the last hour or so that are worth us talking about. Injury updates that I didn't know when we did the preview show earlier today. Zach LaVine questionable, the shoulder again. Could be an ongoing problem. I'd just be a little cautious about where this takes us. Rudy Gobert, ankle sprain. So obviously, if Gobert is not available, it's Naz Reid and Luka Garza. So deeper leagues, Luka Garza will be someone to keep an eye on, especially if Gobert and this injury costs him multiple games. Aaron Nesmith is out. I thought that would be the case, and he is considered not day-to-day. So this is significant-ish of an ankle sprain, which opens up a lot of stuff. Andrew Nembhard is still questionable, but it means Ben Matherin's role is going to increase. And it means Jarris Walker's role is going to have to increase, whether that's replacing Nesmith in the starting lineup or getting extra minutes at the 4 while Obi Toppin plays at the 5. So we've got no Isaiah Jackson, no Aaron Nesmith, maybe no Andrew Nembhard. So Walker and Mathurin and Toppin are going to do a hell of a lot more heavy lifting. Ben Shepherd is probably also going to have to do a bit more. And that's another name to pay attention to. So some interesting things, I guess. Well, not for the Pacers. That's bad news for them. But that's a lot of important players who are going to miss some time here. Larry Markkinen is back, questionable on the injury report. He missed the last 2 with the back spasms. His return is coming pretty close, so that's great. And then in Philadelphia, the big one there is Joel Embiid is out. That's no surprise. But Paul George is ready to return. Now, the original or the official injury report says that George is questionable, but Shams tweeted that he's set to play outside of any sort of setback, which means that he's going to play. Unless, again, something crazy happens and he retweaks his knee, but he is set to play. He'll play Monday. He'll play Wednesday. I'm guessing there's going to be a minutes limit, but this is not a long-term injury for George. It was a knee hyperextension about 3 weeks ago. This is not something he's coming off surgery or anything like that. So if there is a minutes limit, I think there will be. It'll be short-term is my guess. That is my guess. It all remains to be seen, of course, but it does look like that we are actually getting Paul George, ready to go. It's happening. We're here. We're there. The other thing with Embiid, obviously, was the incident yesterday with the reporter, Marcus Hayes, where he shoved him in the locker room. No report on the investigation that the NBA is conducting or whether Embiid is going to cop a suspension there. If Embiid does get a suspension, the NBA makes players be actually healthy before they can serve the suspension. Of course, you can just lie. Yeah, no, I'm ready to go. Oh, wow, suspension, damn it. You can do that. So all they're going to do is make him listed active, and then he's suspended. Be aware of that. I think that they would have an issue if you said, all right, he's available to play, we'll suspend him, he serves the suspension and then comes back and he doesn't play, then there would be a problem. But if they sort of have an idea of where he's at, they can manipulate that so that any suspension works into his rehab injury management plan. That is easily possible to do, assuming you are a little bit flexible with the reporting of injuries. And if there's one team that's going to be flexible with the reporting of injuries, well, it happens to be the same team that Joel Embiid plays for. So wouldn't you know it? Luck, Lady Luck, is on his side. We're not going to do the waiver wire recap here because we just did a waiver wire show earlier today. So we might as well just get straight in now and start looking at the games and go into the first game of the day, which was an earlier game. It is the Detroit Pistons and your Brooklyn Nets. The Pistons on the road They get a win. Now, some of their hard work early this season hasn't fully been rewarded, but it's good to see them get a victory here because they are playing at a much higher level than they did last season, which is not hard to do, but they are doing it at least. 106-92, the final score. And finally, we get a big game from the passport legend, Jalen Duren. He only scored 13 points, but he hit all 5 of his shots, 17 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. Now, obviously, his last 2 games have been pretty bad. His minutes had been down. He'd been in foul trouble. He'd been benched. He hadn't hit this sort of minute total all season, so that's also another encouraging thing. But let me put it this way. Did he get the 33 minutes because they went, oh, we love what you're doing, let's do more of it, or because Isaiah Stewart fouled out in 14 minutes? Or por qué no los dos? I don't really know. Of course, that just means it gives us something else to watch the next time Detroit plays, which is tomorrow. Cade Cunningham, 19, 6, and 6. He did have a lot of turnovers, especially late, but shot the ball well. Good numbers. And after some initial panic about the thick hogsman Tobias Harris, he's been all right. 18, 5, and 6, 35 minutes. He is like top 100 easily now. Top 70 over his last 5 games. Sort of around the right area where we thought he would be. Jaden Ivey did not have a good shooting night. In fact, shot 27%, but 15, 5, and 5. A triple one. 6 of 7 from the line. He looks significantly improved, as does the coaching, from last season. And yeah, I think we're fairly comfortable with him being a 12-team league guy. I don't think he's got any sort of top 50 upside, but around that 100 mark, 90 mark, yeah, that's about right, I think. And points leagues, what's he averaging? He's 30 fantasy points, 88th ranked player. All good. Very hard to fully understand the way that the Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley run will go. Today it was Beasley. He played 29 off the bench. He had 18 points with 4 threes and chucked in 2 steals. Hardaway only got 23 minutes and had 14 with 3 threes. But that's what they are. They're points and threes guys. Someday one gets more, someday one gets less. It's going to be back and forward, and when you take flyers on them, you never know which way it's going to go. But their shooting and their spacing is very important. It's why I find it hard to believe that Asar Thompson is going to be able to do enough to be a 12-team league player this season, because Beasley and Hardaway, that shooting is imperative, I believe, to other players like Ivy and like Cade having the success that the Pistons actually need. And there's an issue for them to work out at some point. We're not there yet, but it's an issue they're going to have to figure out. We'll come back and talk about the Brooklyn side of things in a sec, but today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. November is the month of gratitude. It's a month of thanks. So you can go out there and give thanks to someone in your life. Maybe that is your partner. I love to give thanks to my partner. I do it to her all the time, and I do it on this show. She helps support me. She helps provide me ideas with my work, and just so many different things. Yeah, just giving that extra helping hand with certain parts of your life is important, and there are plenty of people in your life that I know have given you that gratitude, so think about them this month, but also think about yourself too. Give yourself gratitude. It is very hard. You know the old saying, how are you going to love somebody else if you can't love yourself, or something like those lines? It's the same sort of stuff with giving that gratitude. Think yourself deserving of that gratitude and give that out to other people as well. Therapy can be a great way to unlock or help break through some of those barriers in your mind. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to suit your schedule and your needs. So you can go in there, you can talk to the therapists, you fill out that questionnaire, and then when you have your session with your therapist, and if you don't find that right connection, you can change to a different therapist at no additional charge. So let the gratitude flow with BetterHelp. Go to betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Let's go back into the other side of this game. It is Brooklyn and it is Detroit. On the Nets side of things, Ben Simmons did play in this one, so I'm guessing he's not going to play tomorrow. 4, 6, and 6. He didn't close the game. The Nets beat reporters seem to think that he will go to the bench when Claxton starts. Simmons is really tough to hold, and I don't know that you need to do it. Claxton only played, 22 minutes and had 8 points. Unfortunately, he was 3 of 12 from the line, 4 of 12, which is obviously terrible. 4 assists and no blocks. Honestly, just a really bad game. The buy low on him is still massive, and he will be able to be better than this. Cam Thomas, after some really, really red-hot stuff, is like the 55th ranked player, and that's the sort of area he was going in drafts, in that 60 to 70 zone. He had 17, 2, and 2, and shot poorly with no defensive stats. These are the worries we had with Cam. That the shot wouldn't go in every night, that he wouldn't do anything else apart from score. He'll have better stretches, he'll have worse stretches. And sort of settling in the right spot. And same with Dennis Schroeder, who was playing at an unbelievably high level. And then he had 7 points and took 7 shots. He still had 3 steals, but we knew that there was so much about the shooting numbers, even the usage, which I was a little bit baffled with, that wasn't going to hold. Still must roster him, But there will be a period later on this season where he will not be doing this on this team. He'll be a backup somewhere else, or he'll be fake injured and not playing. Dorian Finney-Smith had 9 points. He just does these little things. 2 threes, 2 steals, a block. It's not a must-roster guy at all. But on a day like today, there's a little bit of value in using someone like that. And Jalen Wilson had his 8 points in 22 minutes. And the little Zaire Williams heater that he was on is dead. He had 4 points. He played 16 minutes, and we don't need to pay any attention really to him outside of waiting for a tank. Cam Johnson's on a nice little run. Cam Johnson is a must-roster player. He had 26 points. He had 3 threes. He had a steal and a block. He'll have some bad nights, but overall, the totality of his work is definitely viable in 12-team leagues. It makes sense. You can use him. He'll have some injury problems and some shutdown issues at times later in the year, I think. But at the moment, we're getting some pretty good stuff out of Cam Johnson. Let's do the next game. It is the Atlanta Hawks and the New Orleans Pelicans. The game. The Hawks went at 126-111. So many players out. And we had a starting lineup change in Atlanta because Dyson Daniels returned. That meant Larry Nance Jr. went to the bench. There was no Okongwu in this one. Hunter, Bogdanovic, Krejci, or Buffkin. Jalen Johnson was excellent. He had 38 minutes, 29, 9 and 8, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He's the 36th ranked player this season. He's top 20 in fantasy points leagues. People panicked like, cool, we're good now, yeah? Trae Young, 23, 4, and 12, big game for both of those guys, and it was great that Dyson was back. He played 25 minutes against his former team. 16, 5, and 3, 2 threes, and a steal. Just in case Dyson Daniels is sitting on your waiver wire, please go and correct that folly. He shouldn't be there. Going at him. This is silliness. Don't leave him sitting on the wire. Larry Nance put up a big performance. 25 minutes for Nance, 14 and 6 with 2 threes and a steal. But last game he started, he barely played. He played in this one because Okongwu was out. I don't think you make any sort of move whatsoever here on Larry Nance, knowing that there are the occasional chances where you can stream him in. And Capella, who'd been playing ahead of Okongwu and playing more minutes than him, played 21 minutes and had 8 and 4. The center position here doesn't look like it's always going to be Capella. It doesn't look like it's always going to be Okongwu. It looks like it's going to be a considerable mess. I think you still roster Okongwu and Capella, but it's just going to be frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, I don't even know if this is frustrating. Zach Ricochet, the number 1 overall pick. 11, 5, and 1. The 3 steals are really nice. He shot 31%. This is a great damnation or indication, I guess, of this draft, where the number 1 pick stinks, right? He's bad, and no one cares. No one cares. No one's out here going, oh my God, what a terrible pick by the Hawks. They really screwed that up by taking Ricochet. Man, wow, this is historic stuff. They just go, yeah, we know. Like, he's not very good. He might become better, but he's not very good. Do you need him on your fantasy roster? Long term, no. You'd probably have to wait a while for it to come. The only reason you look at him now is because Bogdanovic, Hunter, Krejci, Buffkin, Okongwu, they're all out. Okongwu will be back tomorrow, though. Hunter might be as well. I don't think so, though. That's the only reason you do it. He's not playing well enough to force himself into big minutes. He's not playing well when he gets the big minutes. There's no need for it. Garrison Matthews did his thing, his Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway impression. 11 points, 3 threes, that's what he does. While Dave Roddy had 8 points with 2 threes. We don't have to roster Roddy. Like, his numbers are okay. Like, he actually is a top 120 player somehow, amazingly, per game this season. But it's only because everyone's out. He will go back to playing, hopefully, 0 minutes. Remember, the Hawks declined his rookie option. They don't think he's very good. They just don't have many other options at this point. But they beat the Pelicans because the Pelicans are equally as beat up. Zion Williamson was out of this one with a hamstring issue. Like, what is going on now? It doesn't appear to be any sort of long-term thing, but it's tightness in his hammy. Of course, no CJ, no DeJounte, no Trey Murphy, no Herb Jones. So outside of Ingram, like their 5 best players, so 5 of their best 6 players were just out. Ingram did everything he could. 30 minutes, 32 and 7, 4 threes, a steal and a block. But we also know that when you put Brandon Ingram as your best player, you're probably not going to be very good. He was 38 usage with minus 21. Jordan Hawkins is going to get numbers. He should be rostered for now. 31 minutes, 19 points, 3 threes, but he does nothing else. 18 shots, shot poorly. You get no peripheral stats really at all. And when even 2 of these guys return, he won't be worth it. Jose Alvarado, bad. 9 points, 25%. That is bad. The rest is okay. The 7 assists makes up for it. I would still have Alvarado over Hawkins, but neither of these guys are long-term players. Javonte Green got the start. usually he's a good source of rebounds and a steal and a block. He got a steal. But yeah, what else? Well, Yves Missi also didn't do anything. That's not true. He was okay. 6 rebounds for Missi. He got a steal. He got a block. He had 3 assists. He's starting now. He played 26 minutes. I don't think he's going to be getting these minutes when these players come back because, again, your default position should be, oh, man, all these rookies are bad. It's not exactly true because there's a couple in Washington who are looking good. Jalen Wells looks good in Memphis, but good-ish, right? Missi's not doing enough that he's going to reduce McCollum, DeJounte, Zion, Trey, Herb, or Ingram's minutes. And they'll run those small ball lineups at times. For now, Missi is okay, but how good's he been? The answer is not very. 180th ranked player. He's 154th in points leagues. That's borderline, yeah? For now, he's worth it. Long term, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm convinced of it. We got some good BJ in this one. Boston had 14 points in 30 minutes. He had 5 rebounds and 4 assists. I actually like BJ as a player. I think he can be good, but he was in a bad situation with the Clippers where he never got an opportunity. He's on a 2-way here in New Orleans, and while that had the chance here to give him some minutes, they did, and he responded. Again, second straight game, he's been pretty good. I don't think we need to do anything much with that, and again, there's going to be so much squish on the minutes that this doesn't really mean much, but I was impressed. Jamal Cain had 14 points in a little 18-minute cameo. He's been a guy that's flashed some stuff in Miami as well. Haven't we all flashed some stuff in Miami? Another 3 threes for him, but again, there's just no room there. Jeremiah Robinson-Earl went from barely playing to playing 25 minutes. And my man, Karlo Makovic, can't even get on the court. Maybe he just looks terrible in practices. That's possible. I thought he had no chance, but clearly not. Clearly not going to happen. The Pelicans team is just ravaged, man. There's just too many guys that are out, and it's very, very hard to compete when you're in a situation like that. So one more game for us to talk about. That's the Magic and the Mavericks, and that was a blowout too. Before we get there, though, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Get ready to tackle all of the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything that you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So, when you're watching a game and the thoughts are running into your mind, you see something going on that deserves attention. So you open up the app to where you place the live bets and everything's there. The stats, the play-by-play. Instead of having to go to different places, you can just see it all in that one spot. So you do. You place your bets. It's all there. Bang. You are good. And if you are a new customer, well, FanDuel will give you $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So go to FanDuel.com and never waste a hunch and make every moment more. With FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And don't forget to gamble responsibly. All right, let's go to the final game of the day. Like I said, this was a blowout. It was the undermanned Orlando Magic, who got even more undermanned as the game went on, up against the Dallas Mavericks. The Magic did make a couple of changes to their starting lineup. Wendell Carter returned, sort of. He lasted less than a half. So that meant Mo Wagner went to the bench. But again, we can go back and pick up Mo Wagner. I don't think Carter's playing tomorrow, and this is going to be something extra to deal with. It's just another annoying situation for Wendell. And then we thought they would start Mr. Black, Anthony Black, Mr. Black. Oh, God, the voice went. Mr. Black. We thought they'd do that, but they didn't. So they started Tristan da Silva instead. And that throws a bit of a wrench into it. Now, you already know that I'm not as enamored with Anthony Black as other people are. So, yeah, I really don't know where we go with this. Let me explain to you what I mean exactly. Talk about the overall score here. In fact, it was just an easy victory for Dallas. This game was over. Basically, I think Orlando pulled all their starters off giggity at the end of the third quarter. It was 108-85, the final score. And this is what I mean with Anthony Black. I don't like him as a prospect. I didn't like him as a rookie. I thought he sucked. I was hesitant this season. And I was like, he's playing all right. Let's have a look. 21 minutes, 2 points, 4 rebounds, no defensive stats, scared to shoot. He looked like exactly the same player that I didn't like at all. So now I go, what do I do now? Right, he was an interesting guy to add. He was putting up strong numbers, but in saying all of that, the man's not a top 150 player this season. He's 183rd in points leagues. He averages under 20 fantasy points. And if we're going to get jerked around like this and get games like this, that's not must roster, even though Paolo was out. I don't mind holding, and if you believe in him and you're going to get some nice assists and defensive stats, that's okay. But too much of this garbage. As for the guy that replaced him, Tristan da Silva, he was really good last game. He was really good in Summer League. He shot like 60% on threes, and none of that stuff was ever going to hold. And guess what? He shot 29%. He had 7 points and played 31 minutes. He had 5 rebounds. He had a block. It's interesting. I don't think that it's a 12-team league ad. If he starts and plays 30 a night, though, we will be interested in that. And then, like I said, Wendell Carter lasted, 9 minutes, 6 points. He had 2 steals. Don't think he plays tomorrow. I've liked what Carter has done this season. He's been pretty solid. But that's a knee problem. Now moving into a plantar fascia problem, and plantar fascia issues last a long time. I'd be considering a drop if I wanted to. Mo Wagner would be the ad because Goga is also out, although Badadze might play tomorrow. In fact, I think Goga might play tomorrow. So if you wanted to take a flyer on Goga in a deeper format, do it. Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner were both solid. 10-4 and 2 for Suggsy with a steal and 2 blocks, and Wagner had 13-6 and 6 with 2 steals, while Mo Wagner had 10 and 6. Unfortunately, he wasn't as efficient as he usually is, but he's going to be worth a look. KCP continues to be Jack-worthy.
Get that garbage out of here.
And Jonathan Isaac just can't play. 16 minutes, 3 points. He had a steal and a block. That's what he does. I don't think he plays tomorrow. There are so many openings here for Isaac, but he can't get through them. Like, he can't just get into the enough minutes. Like, his body can't do it. Apparently, it looks like it's done. So, like, you don't roster him either. So, the end result of the Paolo injury is, like, maybe it was Black, maybe not. Maybe it's De Silva. I don't know. Maybe it's Wagner. Who knows? But Carter's out now. So, maybe it is Mo Wagner just because of the Carter compounding factor. Maybe you take a flyer on De Silva, but I'd have no confidence, realistically, in any of these guys. We also, actually, one to watch is 22 minutes of Jet Howard. He had 12 points with 2 threes, not much else. A lot of garbage time stuff there. But he's, I guess, marginally intriguing. And I'm not sure many of the other guys are, to be perfectly honest. Really frustrating scenario. Pushing guys who aren't ready for the roles into these roles because of that big injury to Paolo and now the Wendell Carter one. On the other side of the equation, Dallas did not make any lineup changes. They rolled as per usual. You'll be shocked to know that Dan Gafford made a trip to the locker room, but who cares? He still played his 20 minutes. He had 18 and 8 with a steal. Good stuff. Derek Lively, 11-11. Only 20 minutes for Lively. It was a blowout, so don't worry too much about that. Both Gafford and Lively remain 12-team league guys, while Paul Washington had 7 and 4 with a steal. Now, PJ had been playing awesomely, and then he puts up that. And that's not to do with him just being bad, because he shot well. He just didn't get any shots. This is what will happen with him going back and forth. He's not a top 70 player. He's a rosterable guy, but he's going to be inconsistent. Irving had 17, 2 and 3, and Luka had 32, 9 and 7. And I swear to God, I feel like all of that came in the first half. He also was once again bad at free throws, and that is continuing to be an Irving problem. Now, he's not terrible at free throws, but he is bad at them. He's below average, and his volume is so high that when it wasn't that last season, it is back to being a fantasy concern. Klay Thompson added 2 blocks. Thanks for that. He had 4 assists, which is also a bonus, but 9 points, 29 minutes. We are very close, if not there already, into a jacking of Klay Thompson, because he's had like the one really big game, a couple of fine games, and some bad ones. And it's trending downwards very, very quickly. And I don't think there's much more that actually went on this game that's worth me honestly talking about. Not a lot going on there. Let's go to the monstrous line of the night. Let's find out who that was. It's an Atlanta player. I'll give you that little hint to start things off. I could have told you it's an Atlanta player or it's a Jalen, and then you'd figure it out that it was Jalen Johnson after the early season panics. Johnson is just fine. 29, 9, and 8, 2 steals and 2 blocks. Fantastic. The waiver wire line of the night. The best performance from a player rostered in really not many leagues, under 45% using our advanced metric at Basketball Monster. This is Jalen's teammate. It's Larry Nance, who put up 14 and 6. He had a steal. The minutes were there with a Kongwu out. I don't think that means it's going to be an every night thing for Nance, and I wouldn't bother with any sort of ad there. The young gun of the night, this isn't one where I actually had to go too low. Sometimes on these low volume days, you have to scrape pretty low to find a first or second year player, but Jordan Hawkins was good enough to get himself in. He had 19, 3 and 3. His role is great. It won't be all the way through. It's good now, and just enjoy what you're getting. And on the other side of things, the dud of the night. This one was, I'll say relatively close. You might not think it was, but it was, because if you do have Nick Claxton, you're already punting free throws. But that's a disastrous free throw performance, 4 of 12. He also had only 8 points. He didn't block a shot. He had 1 rebound. He had 5 assists, which is just completely out of nowhere. But here's your dud of the night, Big Nick Claxton. Before we look at the results of industry pickup for this week, let's go through the top 6 players across all of the different formats that we take a look at here. The top 6 players for category leagues, it was Jalen Johnson. He already got the monstrous line of the night, followed by another Jalen, the passport legend Jalen Duren, Trae Young, Brandon Ingram, Luka Doncic, and for some reason I wrote Brandon Ingram there twice, so that's obviously not true. Let me double check who that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be Cam Johnson in that other position, so my bad. Don't know what happened there. All right, let's take a look at the top 6 waiver wire players. For the day, Larry Nance on top, then Malik Beasley, BJ Boston, Najee Marshall, Tim Hardaway, and Jeremiah Robinson Earl. The only thing you look at there, I reckon, is Beasley and Hardaway as points and 3 streamers. And if the Pelicans continue to be banged up, then BJ Boston was very interesting. And if Zion is out again, they submitted, actually, the Pelicans, I didn't say this before, they submitted an official starting lineup through the NBA's official data suppliers that BJ Boston was starting and not Javonte Green. Now, they reversed course on that, but to even have that as part of their option, that means they thought about it. And they made a change. So just be aware of that they do hold BJ in a very revered place. Sort of revered. Somewhat. He's getting minutes. He was good. The top 6 Yahoo Points League players are actually, I believe, almost the same as the top 6 ESPN Points League players. Jalen Johnson, Luka Doncic, Jalen Duren, Trae Young, Brandon Ingram, and Cameron Johnson. And then for your ESPNs, well, it's Jalen Johnson, it's Trae Young, it's Jalen Duren, it's Luka Doncic, a slightly different order. Brandon Ingram and Cameron Johnson. So let's go and have a look at Industry Pickup, the industry league that me and Alex, Reclean, and B-Dub have started for last year, and this is the second year of it. There are 3 different divisions. Actually, what I need to do is be able to put up, I don't have access to it at the moment, the other 2 leagues to show you the results in those, to show you how all the other analysts are going against each other. But I lost week 1. I was very disappointed with that. But we're back on track. A 5-4 victory for me over Willie from ETR. Yeah, I do. I've got Wendell Carter. I don't think I'm going to be holding on to him, but that's a good win for me. I am happy to get a victory there. Alex Burns beats Karan 5-4. Angle Fantasy Basketball beats Sam and Liam from Point Made 5-4. Mitch Casey goes down to Josh and Evan from Points Made 7-2. Kyle McEwen loses to Joel Bartolotta 6-3. Joel cooked me last week, so maybe he's just a real powerhouse. And then Jacob from Fantasy Trash Talk beats Kingy 5-4. So there's the beginning of your week, beginning of your fantasy, or not beginning of the week, beginning of the season, 2 weeks into Industry Pickup, and that's where we're at. Let's have a quick look at the standings there. Where am I? Oh, I've gotten off the bottom. 7-11 with Mitch and Kyle down the bottom. Joel's at the top, followed by Josh and Evan. Jacob, Kingy, Karen, Angle, Alex Burns. What can we Alec Burks? Sam and Liam and Willie Cleaver. So we're 2 weeks into that on Industry Pickup. Let's take a look at my other leagues. My other auction league, which is the second one that I posted. It wasn't Industry Pickup. I had a 5-3-1 victory in this one. I'm pretty sure I copped some injuries in that as well. I beat Day Today, who won the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl overall Battle Royale 2 years ago. I'm going to say he's a very good fantasy player because I beat him, but good for me to get a victory there. I actually won week 1 of that one as well. FBI World Cup, I'm cooked in that. I just copped so many injuries this week. Yeah, got done 2-7. Just my team is in real trouble in that one. Every injury in the world hit me this week, and I had no real way of getting through that. Last week I didn't show you this league, but Kingy started this league. It's a head-to-head and roto combination trial league where there are games caps as a head-to-head, but every week you play every opponent. And this is something I talked about in the off-season as well, as something we talk about small samples and problems there is why do we always have to default to 1 week being the matchup? Why can't we do multiple weeks? This one we do 1 week, but just being able to take on multiple opponents at the same time to try and even out a lot of the variance. And Kingy did this league and said, let's try it out, where every week you play every opponent. Last week, I actually went 9-0. It's a 10-team league. I beat every other opponent, which was a W for me. Let's see how I went this week, because I don't actually know. I lost that one 5-4 to Mitch. Dan Titus beat me 6-3. I'm not as good a week here. 6-3. I lost to Titus. Noel Rubin beat me 5-4. Pappy Roy beat me 6-3. I beat Raf Johnson 8-1. I beat D-Mac from NBA Fantasy Bible 5-4. Kingy beat me 6-3. And then I beat Kayla Fonte 6-3. How's the standings going on that one? Oh, there I am. I'm at the top, 13-5 in that one. Let's go through the next one. The Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl Draft and Stash League. We'll go to the overall standings in that one. I'll tell you who's the overall leader in that one. It's Flash and Stash up the top there. Where am I in this? I was sort of high, but I think I've dropped a little bit. I'm not at the top of the overall standings, but Flash and Stash is winning that. In my individual league, I'm 7th, so middle of the pack. That's okay. Let's go to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl Roto League. I'm in the Pine division here. I am 8th in that one. The Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl Category League, I am in... This is the blue version of that. Oh, where's my... That's all right. I want my matchup. Where am I? I think this is the team I've got Kawhi and I've got no real shot. I lost 3-6 to Bosch Royd. Yeah, my team is going to be terrible there. And then my Points League team, how do we go there? I split the matchups 1-1. Rough start in a few of these leagues, strong in some other ones. It's just dependent on how some of those teams have gone and how some of those injuries have hit me. But yeah, we'll keep working. We'll keep working through it. It is early on and happy to get a couple more victories under the belt here today. All right, that is it. The show is over. You have one obligation, and that is just to hit the thumb, leave your comments, double bang, all of that stuff. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.